We know that one of the issues, and I guess one of my concerns, is that what are the terms of reference he's going to come up with? Because we learned today that one of the AFP's groups that was supposed to be looking over counter-terrorism, in fact, had lost funding recently and been disbanded quietly in only the weeks before the Bondi pogrom. So we now have a situation where Albanese's government has been absolutely instrumental in axing programs prior to this massacre occurring that were supposed to be overseeing counter-terrorism in all its forms. And when we learn more about these alleged terrorists, we see exactly where their backgrounds were and what they were doing. It's just, I think this is where, and I think this is getting to the crux of why Albanese has been so reluctant to go down the Royal Commission, because this is all the stuff that's going to come out and show how his government has been absolutely culpable in allowing anti-Semitism to fester.
Yeah, well, this could just be the start of it. And suddenly he's now considering a Royal Commission. Look, I'm no counter-terrorism expert, believe it or not, but I can see that counter-terror capability is not some mythical resource you can just turn the tap on and off when you need it. It takes time and it takes consistency and it takes money. And so when you're dismantling a force such as this or a group such as this, at a time where the threat was not reducing, you know, it was only
escalating.
Yeah, it was only escalating, you know, with literally car bombs, with literally graffiti and anti-Semitism and the tension building, and that is the time. And to quote in the story out that it is a funding issue is so insulting. You know, last night we were talking about NDIS issues blowing out to be bigger than defence. And you're telling me that there's a funding issue for a group of a counter-terrorism intelligence and security for our country at a time where threat was escalating is just not a good enough excuse.
And it also makes you question the whole narrative we've been told by Albo, because he got up there days after the Bondi massacre and said the intelligence community, the agencies, they've never had more funding. No funding request has been knocked back by my government. But this story blows a massive, gaping hole in his story. And if he's lying about something as basic as that, as funding for intelligence, what else is he lying about? And this is why the only way he will call a royal commission is if he's dragged there kicking and screaming, because the dead bodies are going to be all around. And clearly he has so much to hide. And that's the point you raised there was great, Claire. We knew this was an issue. Mike Burgess got up repeatedly and warned that anti-Semitism was the #1 threat to life and our terror threat level was probable. But what did Labor do? What did our government do? Cut funding and force a national surveillance team specifically looking at counter-terror to shut down.
Look, the whole thing just smells like 4-day-old fish. And, you know, it's the fact that Parliament's going to be recalled to look at hate laws, which, you know, are important, but are they going to be enforced? Are they actually going to be?
Laws.
We've already got them and they're not being used.
They're not being
enforced.
They
could have simply been brought in. The fact that on October 8th, when we had those awful preachers out in southwest Sydney rejoicing at what had happened on October 7th, if that isn't enough, then I am just confounded as to what these laws are supposed to cover. But he's supposed to be bringing Parliament back early to so-called strengthen these hate laws. He had to face his caucus in total. He's got 94 members in there plus his senators. He has to face them in total. There's an awful lot of right-wing Labor, or Labor right. Probably wouldn't like me calling them right-wing Labor, but some of them actually are. But, you know, they are absolutely supportive of Israel and have long histories of being so. And I can imagine he will be facing quite a bit of anger, not only from the Australian people, not only from the rest of the Parliament except the Greens, but from his own caucus. And, you know, this is just highlighting now the deficiencies that his government has had. It's all about votes in southwest Sydney. Chris Bowen and Tony Burke, I hope they've handed their membership to the New South Wales Labor write-in, because they no longer reflect what those values used to be. They don't reflect the other members of that faction. And he is about to come up for a world of pain, and I think that's why he's going to get their drag and
he's also spent 2 years talking about right-wing extremism, talking about Islamophobia. No issue deporting neo-Nazis, but a lot of issues deporting other people.
Oh no, we want to
other
bring
ideologies.
ISIS brides back.
Yeah, let's bring ISIS
Welcome home.
brides.
Welcome Matt out.
Let's bring 3,000 Gazans in. And I think this is what we're just seeing time and time again, Claire. Just the glaring incompetence verging on genuine malice. You actually have to start to wonder, it's too many times, too many errors. Is this more than just incompetence? Is this actually a Prime Minister that genuinely does not care?
I said last week on this show that I found this continued resistance to this Royal Commission a very strange hill for Albo to die on, and that he potentially could die on it. And at that point, there's no other reason other than think this is not a politician that I see that, you know, has a spine and sticks to his values and doubles down. If he really thought an internal review would be quicker, more efficient, get to where we want, this is the politician that will poll everything, that will cling on to power, that will survey the electorate to see what votes well. So the fact that he didn't just jump on all of these national calls, you can't help but think that there is a lot there that he is hiding. And so we'll see in coming weeks when Parliament is recalled whether he is forced by his colleagues to do a backflip. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone would disagree that is that just too little too late. And I think it is.
Terms of reference will be what tells the story.
Yeah.
If he can't even bring himself to put the term antisemitism in the terms of reference, if radical Islam is not specifically called out in the terms of reference, then we can see exactly what he's trying to do, and it'll be the Clayton's Royal Commission.